So I've been participating in an ongoing conversation about like the witchy and spiritual boxes and cosmetic lines that are coming out with these tarot and witchy themed products. So it's making it more mainstream, but there's been a lot of outrage from the witchy and spiritual community concerning appropriation. So I don't have a problem with these things going mainstream. When they do, it just means that there's more things out there that I'll probably like. But what I do have a problem with is the ingredients that are going into the products. So many of these products are going against the grain of what a witchy or spiritual person practices. So being connected with the earth, loving themselves, loving the environment. And these cosmetics are not doing that at all. The following is a chat that I had with the amazing Leah Patterson, and we're going to talk about these witchy and spiritual boxes, our concerns with them, and what you need to know to be informed as a consumer, but also a spiritual practitioner, and really what we consider to be real witchy cosmetics.
I consider myself multi-passionate. I do a bazillion different things, but the umbrella of it all is self-empowerment and self-confidence finding for women. I have a long history of anxiety and depression. And so all of these things that are now a part of what I offer to the world are the different ways that I have actually overcome the worst parts of my depression and my anxiety. And it's a constant journey. But this point in my life where like I run my own show as opposed to my depression and anxiety running my life. A statement that I use often is that I'm helping women specifically find that inner glow and show it on the outside. So be able to glow from inside out and really just be able to sparkle in their life in whatever their unique way is. How that translates in the work that I do. I'm a salsa instructor, so I teach dance, salsa and bachata, all the Latin dances. I have a mineral makeup line that is sweatproof and natural, which is Move Makeup. That actually came out of my dance career. And I'm a holistic esthetician, holistic based. And so even in that, it's all about like how you can use natural things and how you can understand what you're using for your skin. And there's also the Astro Skincare aspect of that, of like what's going on internally and how that's showing up on your skin. And my backdrop for all of that, for me bringing all of the woo-woo into my science stuff, is that I went to school for chemical engineering. So my background's in chemical engineering. I have a very hardcore science mind. And then I have this very unicorny, extra creative, woo-woo side. And a big part of my life has been always finding ways to have them coexist. So it's kind of like my intro for myself.
When we talk about the cosmetics and we see all of these witchy things coming out, like what is your opinion of that? Just in general, like the witchy spiritual becoming mainstream.
In general, I kind of feel the same way that you said. So high level, I see no problem with it. I think it's beautiful. I think it's awesome because I'm a green witch. I'm a very earth spirit witch. My esoteric practice is very much tangible based because it's my way that I kind of connect my spirituality with the actual world that I live in. So I think it's great that people are getting these avenues of making those connections. Their connections to their spirituality, their connections to just deeper thought, and just in general, things that are going on in the world right now. Portals are opening up. People are becoming more aware. The spirits are changing. There's tons of transformation that's happening. So it just makes sense that witchcraft and spirituality, deep spirituality, is becoming more mainstream. So in general, I think that it only makes sense. And I'm not a millennial. And now I feel like an old person because I feel like I do get annoyed by all of the millennial slang and stuff, like yes, queen, all that kind of stuff. So that aspect of it, I do feel like I'm like, oh, but I also know that that's just because I'm getting old. So I feel like my mom or my grandmother, like, oh, these young kids, they're so annoying. So there's that aspect of it. But in general, people being introduced to it, because I remember my own self when I first being introduced to my spiritual path. I'm sure I picked up a tarot deck from, I don't know, Barnes and Nobles or something. It was like something mainstream was an avenue for me to go way deeper. It was a bookstore. I feel like it's the same thing. Like it's Sephora. It's something that's very accessible to people. That's the high level though. We go deeper though, because I do have other opinions about it, what we've already talked a little bit about.
So we were talking in the Witches group. Heather had put up the post about this cosmetic company. I don't even remember who it was, but they came out with a witchy palette and it had lip glosses, and she wanted to know our opinions because she's kind of like we are, it's whatever, let people have their experience. They did a whole podcast on it. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at, and I really liked the colors. They were so pretty and so vibrant. They had this beautiful red. It was the red that I have been looking for me. It would look great on me. But then I looked at the ingredients list, and there's mineral oil and talc and all of these different colorants. And why? Why do you have to put it?
Yes.
That's not necessary. Then that goes against the whole witchy thing. Being connected, loving yourself, taking care of yourself, taking care of the environment.
Yeah. Being aware
exactly
of what you're intaking into your body, what you're intaking into your environment in general.
Right. So why aren't witches appalled with the ingredients? Why are they getting stuck in the upper level facade of it being witchy instead of actually going deeper?
I got so many opinions about it. Okay, so now this gets into it, and I'm going to try to talk very slowly and clearly so that I can really make my point. This gets into the problems that I have with, I guess, I don't know, society in general, and then with, and this is going to sound like a judgment, maybe with the millennial Instagram witchy scene that we have right now, where everything is very surface. And so it does absolutely fit culture right now, where everything is very surface and it's in the moment, and it's this, instant gratification. This is why I don't feel like I was made for this world, because I don't understand why this is not an issue, because it's the depth. It's almost like it's like no one wants to go deeper because they really don't want the true experience. They really don't want the realness. It feels like the surface is okay. So now people are outraged about, oh, witchiness is getting out into the mainstream and they're making fun of it and everything like that, when they're not actually living a true version of that level of practice. Because like you said, if you were living a true version, this all sounds judgy, so I'm just going to like put that out there. It sounds judgy. I'm just going to be judgy. But if you were living like a true version of, I'm trying to really live in accordance with my connection with everything, the fact that there's like a whole bunch of gunk in it, you would just be like, what is that? There's a woman that just opened up a vaginal steam place in the mall. A veggie, I don't know what she calls it, veggie spa, whatever. I would bet the little money I have right now on the fact that she doesn't give a dang about women's health in reality, has not studied with anyone to really tell her about womb health and the connection with your spiritual self. It's a cash cow. It's like, oh, this is popular. I've got a name for myself. Folks are going to follow me. She's a very popular woman in the city for lots of different reasons. And it's just like, I'm going to milk this cash cow. It kind of reminds me of when I was the engineer at Merck. At that time, I thought that I was on, well, I'll say it like this, because I kind of knew at that time, because when I went to Merck, I realized that I was on the wrong side of the equation because of the work I'd done at NIH. But the scientists that were over in the research side, they fully believed that they were saving the world, that this was the best way. This is it. This is doing it. And that's what I feel like is what happens is your mainstream person is like, this is it. This fake version of depth is the way. This is the way that I can heal myself or save myself, is by doing this little baby step. And then the people that are providing the baby step are just capitalizing on it. It's cash cow for them. So I feel like that's what's happening, is that your people that are outraged, especially these leaders in the spiritual community that are outraged, I'll take it back. I don't know about the leaders. I don't know. I don't know what their problem is, but your average person and the spiritual community that's feeling outraged, they're living a fake Instagram version of it anyway. If they really had a connection with the depths of it, these types of products wouldn't even be of interest because of those facts. Because it's like, oh, well, yeah, it's got a nice sticker, but I can't use that because that's full of junk. Or if I'm gonna use it, I'm gonna use it well aware that this is my fun makeup, but it's full of gunk. Or, you know what I mean? It's like the awareness. And that's what I always used to teach in my herbal classes. No one's saying that you can't say, you know what? I just want that though. I really like, I don't know, Tahitian sunrise soap, and I'm going to use it, you know, because I really love the scent, even though it's full of toxins and it might be a carcinogen. Then be aware of that and make your other choices in the other areas of your life to compensate for that. But the awareness is what I think is the issue. It's again, maybe this is the big brother thing. It happens in so many aspects of life where someone, whoever's pulling all the strings, is like, oh, let's keep people in the dark. Let's get them excited about all this other stuff when this is the real issue over here. But if we get them all riled up about something that really doesn't matter, they'll never see the real issue.
I didn't know you worked for Merck.
Yes, I worked for Merck. I was actually a validation engineer. So I was on production side. So I wasn't on research side. But of course, had I stayed at Merck, I would have ended up on the research side because that's where my heart is in research. And I was just like, I can't blindly do this. I can't pretend like making this drug right here is about to save somebody's life. You know, there's so many better ways to save someone's life. But in the philosophical conversations I had with those engineers and those scientists, they felt like they were on the right side of the equation. This is how we are saving people's lives. Yeah, I know people die from it too, from the medicine, but all these other people have survived, and so the chance is worth it. But they wouldn't open up their minds at all to anything like herbal medicine, which has tons of anecdotal and scientific. It's like it's actual chemicals. Like these are chemicals that are working. This is what your science is based on. And they still had a hard time being able to expand their minds even that far.
And I'm sure it's the same way for the cosmetic manufacturers too. They think that this is a wonderful thing. They're able to get these cosmetics to multiple people at lower price points, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, you know, and that's a good point. That's a really good point, and thanks for like bringing that around home, because you're right. There are varying opinions on if talc is really all the things that, you know, you and I, we know that they like, look, these things are toxin, and it's about the toxic load. It's about the fact that it's in every single thing that people are putting on their bodies. And it's about the fact that there are other alternatives. Yeah, a lot of different things would need to shift, but if those things shifted, you could make stuff that people could enjoy and could also not, you know, cause cancer down the line. It's possible. Those two things can exist in the same sentence, in the same light, but it's the fact that all of the shielding and the shadows that are being pulled over everything to where the people in the cosmetic company, because if I'm thinking about, like, I have friends that work for L'Oreal and work for Kraft food, you know, it's like people that are making food products. They do really feel like the things that they're working with are safe, and they really buy into FDA studies. They fully believe that the government is set up to keep them healthy and safe, as opposed to, well, you know, you probably still should, you know, question some of these things and look at some of these other things and think. And again, to me, it's a toxic load thing. It's maybe if it was just introduced in this one product for this person and they only wear it, you know, once a month or something. Okay, yeah, fine. Maybe that's not going to cause any kind of issue. But if it's this, and then 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 this, and they use it every day or 3 or 4 times a week, and then they're eating this kind of food, and then they're in this kind of environment, and they work in this kind of place, yeah, that's a problem. And where can we control these vectors? Where can people control the vectors and the things that they're exposed to? Well, they could change it, at least in maybe they can't change where they work at the moment, but they can change the makeup that they wear. They can change the soap that they're using. It becomes such a social and environmental justice issue as well. And I think that's part of it too, is that depending on where you are in that chain, it's easy to just close your eyes and put on your blinders and just stay there. So the scientist or the manufacturing engineer or the person in the finance office that is just looking at the numbers. It's so easy for these people and these big companies just to stay there. But then I feel like a responsibility lies in, like, for instance, one of the people that are, this is where I get riled up, because so the one product is like the superstar guy. I should know these people's names, but I don't. But anyway, one of the big makeup artist guy that has one of these product lines behind him. To me, it's within them. They can be the ones to make that difference, to say, hey, you know what? It's going to be private labeled. Of course, it's going to be private labeled. He's not out there. He's not in the lab making his own stuff, but he can say, you know what? I want my product to not have these kind of toxins in it. I want my product to be this type of product. I want this type of thing, and I feel like that's where the responsibility lies. Yeah, he might not know, okay, these particular chemicals are an issue, but he or she can dang sure say, you know what, I want a vegan product. I want a product that is non-toxic. I want that, and I want to spend the extra little bit of money to do that. And that's where, like, I get riled up, because I'm very, very small, and I'm able to make products that are non-toxic and that are vegan and that are high quality and that are not breaking people's skin out and not introducing unnecessary vectors. These huge companies that have way more resources than I do, so that they can, and I don't, like, I hate to say it, I think it does boil down to a money thing, but they have way more resources than I do. They could easily make these kind of products, and they don't. And they just kind of put a little sticker on it to say, oh, this is so cool. And I feel like the responsibility lies not even in the manufacturing companies, it lies in these faces of these brands who are the ones that are instigated, especially like these little indie ones, because I feel like all the little indie ones we've been talking about, it's like, oh, Sephora decides to do Jeffree Star's new palette. Like, Jeffree Star needs to be able to be like, you know what, Sephora, go to your manufacturing plant and make it like this. Make sure that it doesn't have this in here. Make sure it doesn't have that in there. Because it's possible. It's not hard to do, and it's not hard to mass produce, but that's where I feel like that responsibility is breaking down. The responsibility that they have, they're not taking. If that makes sense.
Yes. Going back to like the food manufacturing and stuff like that, there are certain regulations within the food industry, but there aren't really regulations for cosmetics, and they're just kind of regulating themselves. And that kind of gets us into this catch-22 too, because they will cut corners wherever they can, and they will say it's safe, and they don't have to prove it's safe. But if there's issues, then the FDA may or may not step in, just like with the talc. I mean, they've known since the 60s and 70s that it can be contaminated with asbestos. And nothing was done. And it's just recently that the FDA has decided to look at testing the talc and what measures can they put into place to make sure that it is not contaminated. So do you want to talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, I feel like that whole thing is one of those catch-22s also, because this is also an issue in the herbal and supplement industry as well, and it's being an herbalist, we're handing somebody over a tea blend and saying, hey, this is what I would recommend for this. But then you have these huge companies that are creating versions of these teas and things and pill forms, and you're talking about like extract and like the active ingredient, what it's no longer really the plant anymore. It's a chemical, but they're selling it as though it's this thing, but then it causes medical issues and things like that. It's one of those real fine line things. And I honestly can't say that I have a real solid solution in mind, because what happens is that when these industries that have an independent, I guess, subculture or sub-industry, where you have individual creators creating things, but then you also have big industry creating things in like labs and mass producing them. Oftentimes when things get highly regulated, then it cuts out the smaller manufacturer, the handmade manufacturer. Like that's even happening in the skincare world, where as regulations come down and people are angry and protesting and petitioning for these larger companies to have more regulations, well, then that creates a situation where you have to have more expensive testing, where you have to have testing. So as a small company, can you spend $1,000 to have your product tested so that it can be sold? If you're not able to make certain claims, are people going to value your product the same? So I don't really have an answer to that, because you're right. There does need to be some type of regulation on, maybe that's where the regulation comes in, on the actual ingredients, the raw materials. Like the raw materials need to be regulated. What is being provided for makeup? It's like mica and like you said, I mean, you know how I feel about like all the other chemical, like the talc and everything like that, but maybe they need to be regulated, and then your consumer just still needs to be educated about, okay, yeah, you have this, this array of chemicals or ingredients that are possible. What you can trust from the FDA is that all these ingredients are pure. They're purely what they've said they are. And now you as the consumer have to become educated enough to know that this dimethicone, though, is a precursor for cancer or is an irritant. And so you need to make your choices about whether you want that in your product or not. It's a hard thing for me to say, because in one sense, we do trust the government and we do need to have checks and balances in place. You just can't be aware of every single thing that's a part of your life. And I mean, I know as you as a parent, like I'm not a parent. You know, I can imagine as a parent, you're just like, oh my gosh, just keeping my kids alive on a regular basis is a lot. And then trying to think about, oh, but what's the best choice of choices, you know, is overwhelming. So in our society as it's set up, yes, we do need to be able to have some level of trust that there are other organizations or higher bodies that are screening things for us. But then where does the responsibility then turn over to us to then also still be responsible for ourselves and the choices that we are making just in general? So right now, I feel like if we could just educate consumers more. I mean, there's been lots of examples of that where consumer tide changes and then these industries change because people are no longer buying this stuff. And it does take years of change, but that has happened. I mean, that's happened even just with organic food, you know, and things like that. Whereas, 10, 15 years ago, people were taking a chance saying that I'm going to start providing only organic products for consumers. Those pioneering companies were taking chances. And now consumer tide has switched over. So now people want more of that. Now you see like Johnson & Johnson like doing organic stuff. So then it's mainstream, So yeah, so I'm not really sure what the solution is for that, really.
Okay, I definitely like educating the consumer on that. But it's difficult. I mean, we can go over the main ingredients to watch out for. And I'll let you take that in a minute. But even with that, you almost have to have a chemical engineering degree or some sort of chemistry background to understand what's in the products, because it's not just the ingredients, it's the combination of ingredients.
Yeah.
Because for example, I bought a kids body wash or something, and it looked healthy. It's in the aluminum bottle, has all the BPA free and the phthalates.
Yeah.
And, it says it's all free of that stuff. But when you look at the ingredients, there were 2 benign ingredients, but when you combine them, there was a possibility of them making cyanide. Why are these ingredients in a children's shampoo?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. No, you're right. It becomes difficult. It does. And then that leads you back to you feel like it has to be regulated on some level, or maybe there need to be ingredients that are just not possible. I mean, just are not available for formulating for skincare and body care products and facial care products. But again, the answer I haven't been able to figure out in all of it, and it's because I'm a small manufacturer myself, is that if the regulations become so stringent, it is going to cut out the access for handmade products, like they'll be illegal. It'll be illegal to do that. So I don't know yet where the handmade small batch creators fit into that space, because I'm just not sure. I don't know. If you have any ideas that you've thought about, because I know you do small batch things too. I don't know, like, we shut down all the farmers markets, like, but then we're totally reliant on big industry to provide us with everything. That's scary, to think about that. So yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. In my classes, I'm trying to teach people how to make their own soap, how to make their own skincare and body care products. I would never want to take that away from people. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
I don't know either, because it's really complicated.
Yeah, does big business need different regulations? I don't know. Is it like once you get to a certain size, you're regulated differently? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Or if it's, I don't know. Maybe it's just making the decision to buy from organic companies or people that will source things that are pure, or will take the effort to put the right things in.
Yeah, and maybe that brings us back around to these makeup companies. Maybe, and like you and me, we can start to charge. Like, hey guys, what you really should be thinking about is look at these ingredients. You don't want these ingredients on your face, regardless, no matter how beautiful that color is. There is a natural makeup company that can do the same thing, or similar thing. Or, I mean, a lesser of evils, because now we're getting into makeup 101. I mean, yeah, some of these colors that are like really fun and funky, like you can't get that naturally. You're going to need some dyes. You're going to need some like synthetic stuff for that. But it doesn't also have to have talc and parabens and all those kind of things in it. It can just be the dye is a non-natural color. And again, control your vectors. It's like, okay, if I know that I want to wear ruby red lip gloss that's gleaming, this color, then maybe I drink my detox tea that day too. Just maybe that's the kind of thing that we're, do as educators, to educate people so that it's like, make the choices. But I still feel like there needs to be a raise up of educating people about the ingredients. Like you said, okay, what should you really be worried about here? Because we're physical people in a physical body. We're actually tangibly here on earth. You do have to care about your body part, your physical, actual body part.
All right, so what chemicals do we need to worry about? Like, what are the big ones in your opinion? Because I know there's tons of lists out there and tons of information, but it kind of gets overwhelming.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And I'll be honest, even me as a chemical engineer, I have to refer back to my notes and things like that too, because I have not memorized all of them. I know some of the names of them and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's an issue. Let me go back. Is this I'm okay with? I've decided I'm okay with it. This one, that's an issue. So I can absolutely make available a PDF that I created about the carcinogens and the different toxins in there. But some of the ones that come up that are just go ahead, you just don't need to have those in there. Parabens are a big one. It's not necessary, and I know that there's varying opinions on if it really is a precursor, but it's one of those that is just not necessary. The talc you talked about, its contamination is one that, again, it's not necessary to introduce that to your body when there's so many alternatives. It's absolutely a filler that is unnecessary. The sulfates, so sodium lauryl sulfate, that's one that is not necessary. Again, it's a psychological thing that we've been trained to believe that we need for things to lather up, for us to feel like it's doing something, but we've just been trained to believe that. That's just psychology. It's not something that we actually need, and it's very harsh on the skin, so it's not necessary. So there are a lot of ones that, it's retraining our brain to experience something the way it actually really is, as opposed to experiencing it the way that marketers back in the 50s and the 60s and the 40s decided would make people like it better. So a lot of these chemicals that are a part of our formulas now are part of our formulas because they did aesthetic things. It made it look better. It made it feel better. It made it lather up, but it has no practical purpose and no actual benefit for the actual purpose of that product. Off the top of my head, those are the three that always come up that I still feel like people are still on the fence about because there is varying opinions, but those are ones that absolutely you don't need. But I'll make sure that you have that PDF so people can download the ones that I talk about a lot in my classes.
Awesome. So what do you recommend instead? What would you like to see people use?
Well, of course, Move makeup. But, so we're talking about the beauty and the makeup. So I'm a big proponent of mineral makeup in any form. And people kind of, they still have this feeling that mineral makeup won't give you the coverage that you need, or will settle in your pores and will be unflattering if you're older or you have thinner skin or more sensitive skin. And that's absolutely not true. It's about finding the right brand for yourself. And mineral makeup is such a great choice because depending on the formulation, it can be healing for your skin. It sits on top of your skin, creates a breathable layer, so your skin can still breathe, and it gives you all those same benefits that makeup gives you, where it polishes your look. You can have just as vibrant eyeshadow colors in mineral makeup as you can have in any of the makeup that you can get from the drugstore or Sephora or anything like that. And it's just better for you. If you're going to get the same benefit from it in terms of the color payoff, why choose a product that's going to introduce a ton of stuff into your environment, into your inner environment that is questionable at best? Why choose that when you can choose something else that's not going to introduce any of the questionable things and is going to give you the same color payout, that's going to work the same way, it's going to be exactly the same. So I suggest anyone who is on the fence to just try mineral makeup. There's bismuth oxychloride. There are a lot of people who may have tried bare minerals. So that is usually the ingredient in bare minerals that is an irritant. So if some people have tried it and they've said, oh, my skin's broken out or it's made me itch, that's just one brand, and that is the product that's the issue in the brand, or that's the ingredient that generally is the issue. So try another brand. Look at the ingredients, make sure bismuth oxychloride isn't in it, and try another brand. So you can always try Move makeup. And then in body care and skincare, I'm a big proponent of making your own stuff. I'm a big DIY person. So, and I know everybody doesn't have the time to do DIY stuff. And so I try to keep that in mind, but there are a lot of real simple things. Dr. Bronner's soap, Castle soap in general, is a great kind of multi-purpose. If you're using it to cleanse your skin, you can add just a little bit of almond oil or grapeseed oil to it so that it's not super drying. You can add essential oils to it so that you have different scents for your bath soap. It can lather up enough to make bubble baths. So to me, it's very versatile. I use it for a lot. And for my body oil, for my body lotion, I use oil. I just use a different combination of different oils. So I'm a very DIY person. So that's always what I would recommend, is just to try to get in the habit of making your own things, test it out. Even just playing around with it will help you be more informed when you go to the store and you buy different brands. If you say, okay, yeah, that's fun, but I just don't have the time to make a bunch of my own stuff, just that process will help you be more informed when you do go, because a lot of times it is what they say. It's going to be ingredients that you know what they are. You understand it. You've heard of it. It might be like the scientific name of that plant, but then right after that, you'll see the actual name of the plant and it's something you recognize. So that's a good rule of thumb.
When you went to more natural makeup and using natural skincare, making your own stuff, did you see certain effects in your skin or in your perspective or anything like that? Because I know when I first started using natural products, I got just like a little sample from somebody, and I had the unexpected experience of realizing, wow, I'm doing something good for myself. This is good for me. And it made me feel better. And I really felt that self-care. So maybe the results weren't any better than any other product, but internally I felt better about it. So did you have anything like that?
Yeah, and for me, it absolutely became a part of my self-care, self-love experience, because to be honest, it takes a little bit more time to make your own products. It takes a little bit more even patience. Like you said, natural products don't necessarily work really, really fast. So it takes patience to actually even allow it the time to work. But like you said, when you are kind of realizing that I chose this because I felt like it would be better for me, I felt like it was something that was healthier for me, I made this specific choice, it absolutely affects, and it's subtle. The effects are subtle. At least for me, they were subtle. But all of a sudden, it did help me to kind of feel like, I matter enough to me to make the choice, and I matter enough to me to be patient with the experience. And there's just something intangible about this is an essential oil and it's from this flower and from this plant, and these are all natural ingredients and they've been sourced from someplace where just from the copy, just from reading about it, I know these people cared about the plants that they were creating and the harvesting, and it just feels more like a holistic experience. So it absolutely, beyond just the physical experiences of definitely my skin is looking better and is clearer, and just in general, I'm feeling better. Psychologically, it absolutely made a difference. And that's the thing I talk about in my work with Astro Skincare, how just the experience of choosing better products for yourself and making that time for yourself makes a difference psychologically for you. And it's one of those subtle things, but you'll look back 6 months from now and you will see how that little change in one area of your life really just kind of domino affected into other areas of your life. Because when you're feeling better about yourself, when you're making that kind of time for yourself, because that is a time thing, you're specifying time for yourself, it's amazing how that little bit of focus on you allows you to, you're filling your own cup, and then you're kind of standing up stronger in your life in general and making time for yourself in your life in general, if that makes sense. So yeah.
All right, so tell me about the Astro Skincare, because I think it is an amazing concept. Get into it. Let's describe it. What is that actually?
So I am really excited about Astro Skincare too. It really came to me through my astrobiology studies. And I really started getting deep into astrobiology studies maybe about 2 years ago. I've been an herbalist for many, many years, and astrology has always been of interest to me. And then I went to a workshop. The workshop was about astrobiology, and I was like, oh my gosh, my two worlds colliding, and ended up taking a course specifically on lunar herbology. In that, I've always felt like your skin shows you what's happening on the inside of your body, what's happening psychologically with you. Like I've always felt that. I've always known that your skin does not lie. Your skin will tell the truth of what's going on physiologically with you, but then also what's going on psychologically. And so when I would talk to my clients as an esthetician, because I was a practicing esthetician when I lived back in Chicago some years ago, we would often get into, well, what's been going on? Have you been experiencing stress? When did these breakouts start? Or how has your skin been changing? It even changes through the year, the seasons and such. And so that already made sense to me. That already was real clear. And as I began to get deeper into my astrological studies with Lunar Apothecary course, it just started to really click, because I started to realize, oh, wow. It was kind of like latent knowledge that just brought to the surface, where it was like, okay, yeah, your astrological profile really speaks to how you respond to certain things, how you just initially, your default reactions, kind of what karmic lessons and challenges you came to this life to experience. And that kind of blueprint really speaks to what type of physiological responses you're having to things. And so it just kind of naturally progressed. This stuff is showing up on people's skin. Makes complete sense as to why this person that maybe has an Aries moon, maybe they were born on the Aries moon, right? They were born on the Aries full moon. Every time the moon is in Aries, they'll experience a flare or a breakout. And then if you talk to them about, well, what was going on then? They had some big blowout. They had an argument with somebody, or they had something really exciting happen. And it happens every Aries full moon, or every time the moon is in Aries. And then boom, they were born on the Aries full moon. This makes complete sense as to why they're experiencing this in their skin. And so to me, it just, when I started looking at clients and people I was consulting with and just talking to friends in general and just looking at my own profile, I was like, oh my gosh, this makes complete sense. So really that's what it is. It's understanding, your astrological profile and using that as a blueprint to understand what's showing up on your skin. And then once you kind of understand what's showing up on your skin and what's instigating that, what emotional responses are showing up before that thing shows up on your skin, then you can begin to really address those skincare issues from the deeper level. Because we know that most of the things that show up physically in our body are emotional based. And so it goes right in alignment with that. Like the things that are showing up on our skin are responses to what are happening, in our emotional body that either need to be addressed, that are showing up to be addressed, that are not being addressed. So it's finally just showed up like, hey, I'm here, like, address me. It's just been a completely fascinating study for me, because I've even seen it where it's, okay, what phase is the moon in? What's going on with people at that time? And people will say, oh yeah, my skin has been feeling way drier, or my skin has been feeling super bloated. And the moon is either in a fire sign or in a water sign. So, and that's just looking at the moon. I feel like the moon is a really good indicator of the deeper issues, because the moon has to do with your psychological and emotional space. But that's just looking at the moon. I mean, you got like tons of other planets in the sky too. so it's been really fascinating to study it.
So how are you helping people with that? Like, what are you doing? Are you doing charts with people, or are you just putting out general astrological information?
So I have a couple ways that I'm helping people with that. So I have a Patreon that's all about Astro Skincare and Witchy Wellness. And for my patrons there, I do a monthly breakdown of what's going on in the sky astrologically with your skincare. We're in Libra season right now, so I did a breakdown of the different types of mask and skincare regimens you might want to follow during Libra season, what people with Libra sun sign and Libra moon sign might be experiencing in their skin in this season, which ingredients are really good to use, what essential oils, which herbs you can use. We're going into Scorpio season, so I'll be putting up the Scorpio one really soon. So just in general, I have that kind of general breakdown and just skincare regimens that you can follow to deal with certain skincare issues depending on your sun sign, your moon sign, and also what's going on with your skin, because your sun sign and moon sign kind of tell you what your profile is, and then what's going on in your life is telling you on what side you need to address it. Do you need more of that energy, or do you need less of that energy? And so that's where the different skincare regimens come in. And then I'm also doing 2 other options. So for people who are just wanting to kind of experience it first time, they can do an Astro Skincare profile. And I'm offering it at a really, really reduced rate right now, because again, this is my fun study thing, and it's kind of new for me too. But it's basically a breakdown of your Astro profile, and in the sense of an Astro Skincare breakdown. And then if you have any particular issues that you're experiencing, it gives you a little regimen to work through those issues. And then like an affirmation that you can use as well, while you're doing your regimen, because skincare regimen is a beautiful opportunity to work in some really great transformational affirmations. I mean, it can be really transformational time for you, because it's already time you have set aside. So if you do that work consciously, purposefully, you can really manifest some really awesome things. So I have that, and then I have my deeper holistic skincare consultation. And in the holistic skincare consultation, we go really, really deep, and we kind of look at the different aspects of your chart and how those things are manifesting in your skin and just in your life in general. So yeah, it's exciting.
That's a lot. So you've got the makeup line, you've got the Astro Skincare. Now, do you have a skincare line, or are you just helping figure out what you need?
It's in the works. I'll put it like that. Because I have it's going to be Luna Herbal Skincare. So that's the line. Right now I have a moisturizing facial serum, and that's something that I've had for a really long time. It's like the first product of that line. I've just kind of changed it around a little bit, really kind of formulated it with some of the Astro Skincare things I've been learning. And that's the first thing that's available in the line. But I do have plans to do more Astro Skincare focused products, focused for different, like, okay, your Libra moon, this is the regimen you follow. Your Aries moon, this is the regimen you follow. So I'm excited about that. It's not available yet, but hopefully in the new year, I'll have some of those things out there in the world. But right now I do customized products for, like, in the holistic skincare consultation. Part of that experience is a customized products come with that for you.
Awesome. That's so exciting. Like, I love that because it's your sciencey practical part, and then you get to bring in that magical creative side too. So you and you also do salsa and you teach classes, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So where can our listeners find you? Because you are all over the place. So
I know. Probably the best place to find me is my main website, and that's leahpatterson.com. So that's just my name. And from there, like, if you're interested in skincare, there's a link for the skincare, the makeup, the dance. I have links for everything there. And there you can kind of get a clearer picture of just my story and how I got into doing this work and kind of where I am in the world at this time.
Awesome. Is there any final comments or advice or anything you want to add or say?
No, I'm really happy to have, I love the opportunity to talk about these things. So, because I learn new things that I didn't realize I knew, or I didn't realize I thought, like, when I get the opportunity to talk about this stuff. So I'm just grateful for the opportunity. And that last thing I would just leave people with is just, it's a challenge sometimes to be informed, but it's always better to be informed. Trying to, like we were talking about, the education piece, just trying to find ways to be more aware. It's not always the easiest path, but I feel like it is the path that's worth taking. So I'll just leave them with that.